Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we're going to be going over kind of a pretty big, kind of touchy subject we've been seeing these past few weeks, especially as a lot more news with this PlayStation 5 Pro, PlayStation 5 Slim, and all these like kind of mid-console generation upgrades have been slowly been coming out. Now, it's kind of been a bigger talk when it comes to the community, mainly because some folks are literally just now getting their PlayStation 5s, or even just more recently, a lot of folks are actually able to finally go get them on like a relatively easy basis of not having to stay up until 5 in the morning, or not having to go and check Twitter every 3 seconds. And as we kind of go through all this stuff, it kind of goes to show that right now, we actually might not even necessarily still need a PlayStation 5 Slim, PlayStation 5 Pro, or all these next generation jumps. So it's going to be kind of the big topic of this one, because we're seeing articles, we're seeing tweets, we're seeing kind of a big kind of internet storm, and in all honesty, I do kind of somewhat agree, where it might be a little bit too early, just based on all these weird, strange intricacies of this past, well, current gen console generation. So I kind of want to hear your thoughts and comments down below. And as well, let's say hypothetically, literally like next week, it's not going to happen probably, but hypothetically next week, if there is a PlayStation 5 Pro announced, and you already do currently have a PS5, or at least in the market for it, would you actually go buy one? Kind of want to know in the comment section down below. So make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on. We have a lot of cool videos and changes coming soon, so be on the lookout for that one. We also have the Twitter and Twitch down below. Would love if you guys follow those up and hung out with us over there. And of course, like the Target, Amazon links too. And let's dive into the fact that I don't think the world's really ready for a PS5 Pro as of yet. So as I mentioned, a lot of rumors these past few weeks have been kind of bumping up a lot. Like if you've seen on my channel too, number one, it's just a fun topic, but number three, we do keep on seeing more and more and more discussion about it in the gaming world. So now we're actually even kind of seeing things such as articles over here bringing up saying, hey, you know, my living room just isn't ready at this current day and age to even go have a PS5 Pro. And once again, I kind of agree, so I'm going to talk about that throughout this video. We even got the big highlight of those diminishing returns. So Sony's really knocked it out of the park this generation. I mean, besides making the consoles, everything else, hasn't really been too bad. The PS5, while still a nightmare to buy in some regions, is an outstanding console, which I would agree with too. I think both the Xbox and PS5 has been pretty good. They might get dated soon as kind of year 3. I mean, it makes sense, but not too bad. Packing in tons of high-end features and offering an excellent lineup of first-party exclusives. It's the most technically accomplished system in Japanese manufacturers ever implemented, so do we really need the PS5 Pro? The PS5 Pro already offers a comparatively high-end experience that an upgraded model may only be able to improve upon even marginally. If anything, Sony's done a great job of supporting its current hardware with enough new features that even the PS5 Pro seems unnecessary. Now, I'm kind of on the middle on this one, because I'm a PC guy, so I upgrade my GPU, my SSDs, my CPU, at least on a somewhat regular basis. I mean, a higher and faster basis from the PS4 to PS5 time frame. So that's kind of almost how I kind of imagine a lot of these next-gen consoles being. Like a PS5 Pro and also PS5, in theory, should be able to go work in tandem. Like basically you can go play both games, maybe get slightly better frames, maybe get like a 4K 60 versus like a 4K 30 on certain games, as they kind of get a little bit more intensive as the generation goes on, or just maybe more efficient, maybe just better SSDs. But there's a lot of extra side perks that I would kind of go with. So kind of curious on your thoughts. So the PS5 right now, they have more than like its library of games. They have support for VR, VR2, up to 120 hertz like refresh rate, which is kind of the standard. They have Gen 4 SSDs, lightning fast loading times, and everything else all kind of tied on in that's just better than the PS4, and as well with the controller being nice. So they have to say, like, to basically be able to improve the standard for a PS5, they'd have to do some huge upgrades to even make it worthwhile, which I kind of agree with too, and maybe we'll see in like 1 or 2 years and where the gaming industry goes, but it does feel like we're not even fully taking advantage of the PS5 as of right yet. They also go and say kind of my big critiques where it's like, it's not going to come cheap. It's going to cost a lot more money, and honest to God, maybe like a $700, $800 PS5 Pro might be a little bit worse. So basically, Sony's not a stranger to these mid-gen upgrades, which I'd agree too. So not only has every generation has seen a slimmer, revised model after launch, but the company also introduced even a PS4 Pro in 2016. And that console was a decent upgrade with an improved GPU, but missed the mark with an identical CPU in the base model. And that's kind of why that might be a little bit of a weirder side of us even trying to upgrade, because if they don't upgrade all 3 parts, kind of what's the point? And as well, that they probably were going to go for a Slim. Also did go push that 4K support, but games largely opted for a checkerboard rendering to provide an emulated 4K rather than a real 4K. While checkerboarding can get the job done and keep the frame rate stable, it wasn't actually like a 4K, and artifacting was noticeable. So Sony basically has cleared up this 4K output a lot on the PS5, with most AAA games releasing featuring a resolution mode that can match 4K. Very nice. The real issue is that many of these games drop a frame rate cap of 30 to allow 4K, and then games with 4K 60 also still kind of use this weird checkerboarding or dynamic upscaling to get the job done. And now that actually might be a huge improvement we can see in the PS5 Pro, where they can maybe go make that 4K 60 very staple, or as well try to get that 144 hertz frame rate a little bit more consistent too as well, without having to deal with like this internal upscaling or changing all these like weird AI codings or whatever it might be. And some of these folks even kind of say like they'd rather have a worse resolution hit than a performance mode. But I'm in the same boat where I'd rather choose more performance, but ideally if we're going for a PS5 Pro, I kind of want more. I would love a better 4K too as well. On top of this, too, even the resolutions. So basically, apparently the base PS5 technically supports 8K, but the vast majority of games don't even feature it because 8K displays are still extremely expensive. Most people don't own them, and it just doesn't really seem like that's like the next big jump. So maybe if they try to go push that for like the next generation, like a 2025 or so, but even then it doesn't seem like their predictions for only 3 million people having it seem worth it. So it's almost kind of why the PS5 Pro might be weird, but maybe pushing just for a pure 4K, 60 FPS, stable push, rather than a like entirely 8K, and maybe saving 8K is like a big benefit for a PS5 6, could actually maybe be a really cool idea. Now, as well, maybe the PS5 Pro over time can maybe be patched to 8K as well. That would also maybe make sense too. But once again, like, it kind of just depends on what the hardware is, what the staples are, how the monitors are, how the TVs are, and everything all in between, because it just doesn't seem like that's a kind of a commonplace thing, which sucks. So it's kind of all over the place. Like, it really just depends on some of the outside sources, TV, like basically TVs or even like computers, to see where like that baseline standard is nowadays. So basically, they say one area that Sony could enhance the PS5 with is with an upgraded internal storage. Now, this is also kind of a weird one because you can't always just go buy external SSDs and get other various things too. So it's not good. Like, it's not a good vibe. It's not anything. We don't like this. We don't like this vibe at all. It's just the other day. So, I don't know. Like, that's kind of a weird one. I mean, internally, if it's all, like, making the operating system boot faster, load faster, sure, I'm cool with that. But like I said, you have these outsourced SSDs. You can maybe go from there. So they also would like to go and expand between 1 terabyte for the PS5 Pro, and especially with the Gen 4 SSDs getting cheaper these past couple of years, because there's potential there to even maybe just make it included at 2 terabytes. So that, plus a really good GPU improvement, and as well, to learn from the PS4 Pro, putting a CPU improvement too would be an all-around, like, really good big bump up, and it would also maybe make a better 4K 60, or as well maybe finally skeet the line between 8K resolution, which would be nice to see. That's kind of why a PS5 Pro might be harder, mainly because, like, if we're not really utilizing 8K, is it really worth the upgrade if we're not really utilizing these SSDs? Because we already have one on our current PS5s, and they're not going to be basically the Gen 5 SSDs. Like, is it really worth it? Like, it's kind of a big break off between that one. So basically, given the extra cost of adding the Gen 5 SSD, that would still maybe work out to 5 terabytes because it'd be like faster encoding, faster loading, like faster, like basically loading times for games. And that's kind of why it's hard, because is it really worth the extra money? Because most consumers would say, oh, it's the same storage. Do we really care? Versus, say, a better GPU, you're like, oh, at least it loads things better and all that. And a big thing too is always still on the price point. Maybe because Sony keeps on pushing for these more expensive things, and the PSVR 2, the DualSense Edge, and all these other things, is that the PS5 Pro would probably be like an expensive, like $700, $800 console. Mainly because if you have the PS5 sitting at $500 already and $550 in other markets, yeah, the PS5 Pro is going to be even higher. Now, they're trying to say at least $550 at the very least. No, I'd say it'd be way higher. They might say they wouldn't be surprised like 600. Bro, I'd even go like 700 at that point. I mean, it depends on how everything's going to go in the next 1 or 2 years and how quickly prices go down. At the same time, too, let's say Sony goes with the 8K support, which might be their next big jump. They would also be launching games with those new higher resolutions, and as well also might cost a lot more because you have to make the details better. You have to learn how to code it. You have to learn how to optimize 8K in gaming, which would be an industry standard, and as well as not the most norm when it comes to, well, TVs, podcasts, Netflix, or whatever. 8K isn't really the most normal thing as of now. Plus also the download resolution, the bigger file sizes for 8K and everything in between. You'd also have to focus on the optimization of everything too. So there's kind of like an intriguing thing where it almost kind of seems like the world isn't ready for a PS5 Pro. The features and potential are there, like if we can get to this next step, but we almost need to wait for the entire rest of the world to kind of go develop so we could actually either have a pure 4K 60 experience, 8K experience, maybe 30 FPS, OS and all this better internal GPU, CPU, and SSDs, but we may also want to wait for those price points to go down to make it like affordable for the normal everyday consumer like you and me. So give me your thoughts and comments down below, and as well, make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on. Would love to talk more on all the topics, Twitter and Twitch room down below too as well, and of course to check out the Amazon and Target links too, and I appreciate you guys all so much for watching here in the first place.